Jealous of other couples who are very vocal and showy of their feelings. It's not that my husband is not like that, but that is not the primary thing that comes to his head when showing how much he loves me. Over time, I realized that he may not always say, I love you first, but he does things that help me grow as a person without even having me say so.
Into a non-negotiable.
Found out that it was not my position to lead. It wasn't my husband's call to follow me. It was his call to submit to Jesus, follow him. My job was to follow my husband, who was following Jesus. And together we were supposed to parent according to the way God instructed us for our daughters. Guess what? He is closing down. He is shutting down shop.
Feel wanted. Don't get me wrong. He wants you to be fully yoked. He wants you to have a life. He wants you to have all of those things. And you can be independent. You can be a boss woman, but just make sure that you're operating in that feminine energy that makes a man feel wanted. He's going to...
Marriage is a journey, not a destination. If you agree, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you disagree, let me know. But have you ever wondered what real married women have to say about love, compromise, and lasting happiness? In this compilation, we are sharing powerful lessons, hard-earned wisdom, and unfiltered truths about marriage. Whether you're engaged, newly wedded, or years into marriage, these insights will add value to your relationship and help you build a strong, loving partnership. I'll be back at the end of the video. My name is Ria. Let's dive in.
Getting married is definitely not a perfect science, but I do think there are some questions every woman should ask herself before she marries that man. The first question is pretty straightforward. If you had a son who was just like your boyfriend, would you be proud of him? If you raised your son into him, would you be proud of yourself as a mother? Is he a kind man? Is he a respectful man? Is he a man full of integrity? Is he an honest man? That's one question you need to ask yourself. If you had a son just like him, would you be proud? My next question, and in no particular order, if he did not change at all, would you still want him? Would you still want him if he stayed exactly the same as he is today? And I'm asking you this because if there's one thing us girlies can do, it is fall for potential. We can unknowingly find ourselves in a relationship with men, not for who they actually are, but for who we want them to be or who we think they can evolve into. But the thing is, not everyone evolves, honey. Not everyone evolves. So if he stayed exactly the same and did not change for the better, would you still want that man? Now, this question is a bit morbid, but if you two had a family and God forbid something happened to you, would you trust him to raise your kids well and be very active and present? If the answer is no, then woo child, you are going to be in for a ride because he is going to expect you to do everything. You may as well be a single parent if you don't trust him to raise your kids properly, right? Now, some people will not like this one, but my next question is this. When you get married, do you trust him to put your feelings before his mother's? Nobody wants a mummy's boy. A man shall leave his father and his mother and with his wife become one flesh. Now, you may choose to not apply that literally, but the point is marriage is a partnership between a man and his partner, not a man and his mother. Hypothetically, if you couldn't work anymore, could you rely on him to be the sole breadwinner? Does the thought of that fill you with fear? Or can you trust your man to be a provider? Because in life, stuff happens, and you don't want to be with a lazy man. And I'm not saying he needs to earn $1 million, but do you trust him to not be lazy and to put his family first? Now, I want you to think of this man's worst traits. If his worst traits doubled or even tripled in intensity, would you still want him? And I say this because I personally think his worst traits should be something that don't fall into a non-negotiable. His worst traits shouldn't be that bad. Like little annoying things like, oh, he leaves the toilet seat up, or he can be too cheeky at times. You know what I mean? Like, if his worst traits were doubled or tripled, would you still want him? If the answer is no, then like, why do you want him with that single worst trait now? Like, I don't know. Now, I don't want this video to be too long. I can think of way more questions. Let me know if you want me to do a part 2. But the point is, although marriage is not an exact science, there are still things that can and should be considered. And if you decide to get married, your choice of life partner is one of the single most important decisions in your life. Bye, guys.
All right, queens, you guys have been asking for this one. 5 traits that all men want in their woman. Here we go. Number 1, physical attraction. If you want to know one thing about men, it's this. They are absolutely visual creatures. I cannot stress that enough. A man of quality is going to want a woman who takes pride in her physical appearance. She doesn't necessarily have to be the most beautiful woman in the room, but she is going to be a woman that understands the importance of how she presents herself to the world. Number 2, cooperation. And this one is so simple. If you want a man that's a natural leader, you're going to have to know how to cooperate. He's going to want to see if you can be a partner, if you can be a team player. He's not going to want to fight with you over every single little thing. If you are stubborn, combative, closed-minded, and negative, a man of quality is going to find that extremely unattractive. A lot of us women get into the bad habit of making everything a battle. And if you want a man who is high quality, he is going to have way bigger things on his mind, like running your family in the right direction. He's not going to want to argue with you over what you are going to have for dinner. Number 3, to feel wanted. Don't get me wrong. He wants you to be fully yoked. He wants you to have a life. He wants you to have all of those things. And you can be independent. You can be a boss woman, but just make sure that you're operating in that feminine energy that makes a man feel wanted. He's going to love the fact that you have passions and interests in a life outside of him, but you have to remember that a man's natural state is to be a provider and to be a protector, and he's going to want a woman that makes him feel like he has room to do that in her life. Number 4, and y'all are not going to like this one, accountability. Yeah. Harsh truth, we don't have any problem telling a man the 152 ways that they are wrong. But when the tables turn and it's our turn to be accountable, a high-quality man is going to want to see that you know how to do that. Can you apologize? Can you hold yourself accountable? For some reason, for us women, it's so hard to acknowledge when we're wrong and to say that we're sorry. But a high-quality man is going to want to see that you can do that. It goes back to being a good partner. And number 5, last but not least, I hint at this one all the time, so I'm going to speak on it now, feminine energy. I know for some reason whenever people talk about masculine energy versus feminine energy, it gets so controversial, and I really don't understand why that is. It's honestly very simple. Your grace, your class, your poise, your confidence, your nurturing, compassionate energy. If he's really looking for a wife, he's going to want to see a woman who can bring the qualities to the relationship that he naturally as a man cannot. Now here's the thing, and this message goes to men and women. It is not fair to go out into the dating market with a full list of all of the things that you need in a partner when you don't really know the first thing about what your partner is going to need from you. Relationships are a two-way street. And if you want to find and build a relationship that lasts the test of time, you're going to have to care about your partner's happiness and their needs just as much as your own.
The 3 lessons that I've learned about relationships in my 4 years of marriage. Today is actually our anniversary. Number 1, respect is stronger than love. I don't know about you, but I personally feel that love is such a fleeting emotion. But when you respect somebody, not only is it present in your heart, but it's also ingrained in your brain. Love will get you through the best of times, but respect will get you through the worst. I also firmly believe that at the end of the day, the reason why a lot of marriages work out in the long run is because they have so much respect for their partner. When you have respect for somebody, you are so aware of the things that you do not want to do to hurt them. And that's something that is so important when you are committed in a long-term relationship. Because you don't really know what kind of challenges are going to come your way. It's always different depending on your age and circumstance in life. But having respect for each other automatically makes you consider everything that will also make your partner happy. It's just the way it is. Number 2, there's no such thing as 50-50. This is the number 1 thing I've learned when we have a child. The workload and the pressure will never be the same, especially if you are the birth giver, nor will it ever match up if you are the primary provider of the family. It will just never never really add up. So the sooner that you realize that, the more that you can show empathy and compassion to your partner. And if you don't have kids yet, this actually applies to the way that you show your love language. I've learned it the hard way that the sooner you learn about your partner's love language, the better it will be for both of you. Because while we have that specific expectation of how we want to be loved, your partner might not necessarily show it that same way. But that doesn't mean that they love you less. My husband's love language is actually acts of service and giving gifts. And my love language is physical touch and words of affirmation. So definitely, we are totally different. I used to be jealous of other couples who were very vocal and showy of their feelings. It's not that my husband is not like that, but that is not the primary thing that comes to his head when showing how much he loves me. Over time, I realized that he may not always say, "I love you" first, but he does things that help me grow as a person without even having me say so. The third lesson I've learned is that if you are a young couple, it's always important to give yourself room to grow. Whether or not you have kids, this is so essential. As humans, we are built to continuously strive or work for something as long as we are still living. And this allows us to grow and to continue to transcend into the person that we are meant to be. And in simple ways, this gives us so much fulfillment and respect for our own selves. And you know what they say, you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. So those are the things that I've learned in my 4 years of marriage. Don't get me wrong, just because I know these lessons, it doesn't mean that we never fight. Of course, we still do. But knowing these lessons always helps me with a shift of perspective, especially when you're caught up in an argument. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Here are some things that I've learned from just being married in my short amount of time. And it's not just being married, but also being in a relationship also, because I was in a relationship before I was married. But the marriage kind of just put the cherry on the top for these lessons, okay? We are a team, okay? So what I do affects him, what he does affects me. I'm not making big decisions without letting him know. Like, this is my life, of course, but this is our life we're creating. I'm still not independent. I'm not independent. I'm interdependent with my husband, okay? Don't get it messed up. I'm not no black independent woman. I don't care to be. But I am self-sufficient. But my point is, what I do affects my husband, what he does affects me. We're gonna communicate about what's going on in our lives. To understand what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, so we can be better as a team. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you might not be great at that, but I'm good at that, okay? And I'm not good at that, but I know you're great at that. So if we work together, instead of being like, "Oh, you're not good at this, well, you did it wrong," let me just do it, because I do it good and you do this great. So that's how we can work together as a team. Because like basketball, you think of basketball, I'm not a big sports fan, but this one, all right, you're better at threes, you're better at layups. Why am I going to try to do the layups if I know you're better at that? Just work together and you'll go farther, faster, stronger. You know what I mean? Next, petty things really don't matter. I mean, because this is just not like my boyfriend. This is not just like my high school sweetheart or whatever it is. Like, this is my husband. This is a union. This is a contract. Like, yeah, okay. People be like, "Oh, you trying to trap people with marriage and da-da-da." Like, no, it ain't a trap. But like, it's not easy to leave. Like, we're not just about to leave. That's not why we're doing this. So when we have issues, yeah, we're going to talk about what's going on. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, because that makes you a better person. Like, before, I was quick to, like, I'm an only child. I was quick to leave my friends alone if they wasn't on what I was on, or quick to leave somebody. Like, you ain't with the program, then I'm gone. And I'm not saying you shouldn't still have some, like, a backbone about what you stand on, but you do have more of a will to work things out, because this is what we want to do. It's not the problems against, it's not me and you against each other, it's us against the problem. So like, all right, let's talk about it and let's fix the problem, because I don't want to be away from you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have issues with you. We want to fix the issues. We want to tackle issues together. So really, petty things don't matter. You can really let the little small stuff go, because is it really going to matter next week, next month, 5 years? Like, if it is, then it's like, all right, let's figure this out. But like, little petty things, it's like, is it worth the energy when y'all could be loving on each other? You know what I mean? Lastly, just as much as women want to be loved and catered to, so do men. And I don't know exactly, because I'm not a man, so I don't really know how they feel, but I know they deserve it, okay? Just as much as you want someone to cater and pour into you, you should be pouring in and catering to that man. I also had to learn this myself, because like, also I'm an only child, so I have my ways. And you need to realize, like, this is not just your relationship. This is not just your marriage. This is his marriage too. This is his relationship as well. He deserves a special experience just like you do. So you know what I mean? Just like, you give what you want to receive. You don't gotta wait like, well, he doesn't do this for me, so I'm not gonna do it for him. You can set the tone. This is a lifelong journey. This isn't like this, you know what I mean? This is not no game. This is not a game. Like, we want to set the tone. We want it to be good. So don't make it bad by like being petty about like, because he's not doing this, so I'm not doing that. Like, what kind of mood did you really want to set? He deserves it too. He might have had a long day. You thinking about like, oh, he didn't do this for me. You ain't do it for him either. You know what I mean? So those are things I've learned in my short time of being married. And I feel like that's pretty good, honestly. Like, I don't know. Let me know how you feel, and I will come back later on with some more things that I've learned about just, different experiences. But it was good to reflect.
I think one of the biggest regrets in marriage for me is that I wished I'd picked a man that had friends. Because a man without friends is practicing friendship on you, is practicing loyalty. And I'm not talking about having siblings because they all drank from the same well. I'm talking about having other men in his life that he has relationship with, that are standard bearers, that hold him accountable, that he can lean on and be vulnerable with. If he doesn't have that already, then he's practicing with you. Because we might think that in that moment when he shares, oh, this is the first time that I've ever been able to be vulnerable and open with anyone, is a flex. I think it's more like a warning sign. Because the minute that there is any tension and conflict, guess what? He is closing down. He is shutting down shop. Because he hasn't developed the emotional bandwidth or the relationship muscle required for a healthy coupling. And again, I'm not talking about familial relationships because they are fraught with all kinds of obligations. And so where he may show up for his family does not mean that he will show up for you.
I've been married for 26 years. And for 17 of those years, I did it wrong. We did it wrong. We were just two kids in love, and we showed up to say I do, not really knowing what we were doing. We didn't understand our roles, didn't understand the fullness of the covenant that we were agreeing to, didn't understand the godly standards that were going to be expected of us. And so we did the best we could with the limited information we had. And we had a lot of good years, but we struggled a lot. In 17 years, I was like at my wit's end, like, Lord, this ain't working for me. But it was, generally speaking, my life was a struggle, right? I'm like, it ain't aligning. And God showed me it was rooted in the fact that my household was out of order. I did not know what that meant, but I soon found out that it was not my position to lead. It wasn't my husband's call to follow me. It was his call to submit to Jesus, follow him. My job was to follow my husband, who was following Jesus. And together we were supposed to parent according to the way God instructed us for our daughters. And so we had to learn what that looks like, right? And sadly, not too many people are teaching and talking about it. But praise God, he taught us. He sent us a coach that was Holy Spirit led and guided us through the process. I was on board initially, so a lot of people think that, oh, if my spouse not in agreement, I can't do it, and the marriage is doomed. That's not true. If one person is in agreement with God, guess what? Then you turn it over to him and walk it out with him and let him do the work, which is what I did. And guess what? My obedience allowed God to come in and do the work in our marriage. And as a result, God commissioned us, my husband and myself, to go forth and to help other people. He commissioned me to go forth and help people's lives be transformed from pitiful to powerful. And so that's the job that I do, and I take it very seriously. Because why? Because we've been promised as brothers and sisters in Christ to live the abundant life in him. And many of us are struggling because we are not living the life that God has promised us. But guess what? Because we don't know why. We don't know what it looks like. We are being bamboozled by the devil to think that our spouses is the enemy when it's all lies. So I want to encourage you that if you're struggling and feeling, like you at your wit's end, don't give up. you know what? It's worth you reaching out, at least to set up a discovery call, talk it out. You can click the link in my bio. You can DM me. You can go to wearewalkersunited.com. But I just implore you to give it a chance. God is still on the throne, and he still wants to see the unification of his children and his families united together in Jesus' name.
Marriage isn't perfect, but the right lessons can make it beautiful. What's the best marriage advice you've had today? Drop the comment in the comment section down below. Like and share. Follow for more relationship wisdom. If you find this video of value to you, please consider subscribing. Till next time, bye.